Why do we wrestle so fiercely within ourselves? The quietest of nights can sometimes echo the loudest battles. There are days when you carry the weight of the world not on your shoulders, but buried deep inside your chest, crushing your spirit with invisible hands. These struggles are not born of things you can touch, name, or push away. They are born of a complex dance between who you are, who you think you should be, and who the world demands you to become. These silent wars are rarely spoken of. They hide behind laughter, accomplishments, and the masks we wear to assure others, and maybe ourselves, that all is well. But if you sit long enough with the quiet, you'll hear the murmurs of discontent, the whispers of a heart longing for ease, and a soul begging to be seen. What if these struggles were not insurmountable? What if they held not just the pain, but the keys to liberation? Tonight, I want to explore not just the reasons behind these struggles, but the truths they reveal about ourselves. Struggle is a teacher dressed in shadows, showing up when you least expect it, and refusing to leave until the lesson is learned. It doesn't speak in clear tones. It mumbles, it prods, it unsettles. You sit in a room full of people, yet feel utterly alone. You chase goals only to find them hollow once they're reached. You pour love into others, hoping they'll fill the emptiness you don't dare to name, and still the struggle persists. Why? Why do we find ourselves at odds with the very person we carry with us everywhere? Ourselves. Is it that we don't know who we are, or do we fear the truth of what we might discover? We walk through this life collecting expectations like stones, one by one, until the bag we carry becomes too heavy to lift. But whose stones are these? Are they yours? Or have you unknowingly picked up the burdens of others, your family, your friends, society itself, and claimed them as your own? You see, the first reason we struggle is because we forget who we are at our core. We are born into this world with a clear voice, a clear purpose, and an unshakable sense of worth. A baby doesn't ask permission to cry or laugh or demand love. It simply exists unapologetically. But as we grow, the world begins to whisper its own truths into our ears. You're not enough. You need to be better. You need to be more. And slowly, piece by piece, we trade our authenticity for approval. The second reason we struggle is fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being unseen, fear of failure, fear of success. Fear is the quiet architect of many of our internal battles. It whispers lies in our ears and makes us believe they're truths. Fear convinces us to stay small, to dim our light, to shrink ourselves into spaces that were never meant to hold us. And the worst part is, we often mistake fear for wisdom. We call it caution, we call it practicality, but deep down we know better. Then there is the weight of comparison, that silent thief that robs us of joy. We look at others and see their highlight reels, their polished exteriors, their carefully curated lives, and we measure our messy, complicated, beautiful humanity against it. The third reason we struggle is because we forget that we are not here to live someone else's story. So you are the author of your own book. But how often do you find yourself flipping through the pages of someone else's narrative, wondering why your own doesn't look the same? The fourth reason is one we often avoid speaking about: unresolved pain. Pain doesn't dissolve simply because we ignore it. It lingers, it festers, it buries itself deep within the cracks of our hearts. It shows up in ways we don't expect, in anger that feels too big for the moment, in sadness that clings to our ribs, in relationships that seem to mirror the very wounds we thought we'd left behind. Unresolved pain whispers to us that healing is impossible, but I promise you it's not. It's just that healing requires courage, and courage requires you to step into the very spaces you've been running from. The fifth reason we struggle is that we resist change. Life is a river, always moving, always flowing, always shifting, but we stand on its banks, clinging to what we know, afraid to let go and be carried to the unknown. Change feels like loss, and loss feels like death. But sometimes letting go is the only way to truly live. The fourth, we also struggle because we lose sight of gratitude. That's the sixth reason. We focus so much on what we lack, what we want, what we think we need, that we forget to see the beauty in what we already have. Gratitude is not about denying your struggles. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of them, there is still light. There is still love. There is still something worth holding on to, and there's something worth holding on to. The seventh reason is one of the hardest truths to face. We often don't forgive ourselves. We carry guilt like a chain around our necks, punishing ourselves for mistakes long past. We replay our failures, our regrets, our wrongdoings, as if reliving them will somehow make them right. But here's the truth. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of the past so you can step into the freedom of the present. Another reason we struggle is because we forget the importance of connection. That's the eighth reason. We are not meant to walk this journey alone, yet so many of us do. We isolate ourselves out of pride, out of fear, out of the belief that no one else could possibly understand. But connection is where healing begins. It's in the shared stories, the shared tears, the shared laughter that we find the courage to keep going. We struggle because we forget to dream. That's the ninth reason. As children, we dream without limits. We imagine ourselves as explorers, as artists, as creators of worlds. But as we grow, we let those dreams fade, telling ourselves they're impractical, unrealistic, impossible. But dreams are not meant to be practical. They are meant to remind you of what's possible, to pull you forward when the road feels too hard, to light a fire in your soul that no struggle can extinguish. These 9 reasons weave together, creating the fabric of our internal battles. But let me tell you something. Struggle is not your enemy. It is a sign that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are becoming. Struggle is the soil from which strength grows, the storm that clears the sky, the fire that forges resilience. So when you feel the weight of your struggles pressing down on you, remember this: you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply human, and to be human is to wrestle with the complexity of existence. But within that complexity lies the beauty, the power, the infinite potential of who you are. And perhaps, just perhaps, the struggle itself is a gift, a reminder that you are still here, still learning, still reaching for the light. Struggle may feel like a weight, but what if it is also a compass? What if the places that ache the most point you toward the parts of yourself that need the deepest care? Too often we treat our inner battles as if they are something to be silenced, dismissed, or conquered. But every struggle carries a voice, and that voice is calling you to listen, to pay attention, to lean in. What is it saying? Sometimes it is saying that you've been running too fast for too long. We live in a world that glorifies movement, productivity, achievement, as if stillness were a sin. But when was the last time you paused, not to plan the next step, but simply to be, to sit with yourself, to hear the unspoken truths beneath the surface, to allow the chaos to settle and reveal what lies beneath? The truth is, many of us are afraid of stillness because we are afraid of what we might find there. We are afraid that if we stop, even for a moment, the emotions we've pushed aside will rise like a flood. But stillness is not the enemy. Stillness is where healing begins. It is in the quiet moments that clarity comes, that the tangled threads of your mind begin to unravel, that you realize the struggle was never meant to defeat you. It was meant to wake you up. And yet we resist. We resist because we have been taught that struggle is weakness, that vulnerability is failure, that admitting we are not okay is a sign of defeat. But let me tell you something. There is nothing more courageous than facing your own heart. There is nothing braver than holding up a mirror to your soul and saying, I see you, I hear you, I will not turn away. The world tells us to armor up, to build walls around ourselves, to protect the most tender parts of who we are. But walls do not keep out the struggle. They only keep out the light. And so we find ourselves in the dark, wondering why we feel so lost, so disconnected, so alone. The truth is, the light you are seeking is already within you. It has always been there. But sometimes the only way to find it is to let the walls crumble, to let yourself be seen, to let the struggle carve out space for something new. You see, struggle is not static. It is movement. It is transformation. It is the process of shedding old skin, old beliefs, old patterns that no longer serve you. And like any process of transformation, it is uncomfortable, it is messy, it is painful, but it is also necessary, because you cannot grow without change, and you cannot change without struggle. But here's the thing. Struggle does not define you. It does not diminish your worth, your beauty, your strength. Struggle is an experience, not an identity. You are not your pain. You are not your mistakes. You are not the battles you have fought or the wounds you have carried. You are something far greater than all of it. You are the one who rises after every fall. You are the one who keeps going even when the road feels endless. You are the one who dares to hope, to dream, to love, even when the world tells you it is safer to stay closed off. That is who you are. That is your truth. And yet, how often do we forget? How often do we let the voices of doubt drown out the voice of our own soul? How often do we look at our reflection and see only the flaws, the failures, the things we wish we could change? But what if, instead of seeing what is missing, you saw what is already there? What if you looked at yourself with the same love and compassion you so freely give to others? Because here is another truth. You cannot heal what you do not love. You cannot find peace within yourself if you are constantly at war with who you are. The journey to peace begins with acceptance, with the radical, unapologetic acceptance of all that you are, all that you have been, and all that you are becoming. This does not mean you stop growing, stop striving, stop reaching for something more. It means you stop fighting against yourself in the process. It means you learn to hold both the struggle and the beauty, the pain and the joy, the darkness and the light, because you are all of it. You are the storm and the calm, the question and the answer, the brokenness and the wholeness. And when you begin to see this, when you begin to embrace all that you are, something shifts. The struggle does not disappear, but it begins to lose its power over you. It becomes less of a burden and more of a guide. You start to see the lessons hidden within the pain, the strength hidden within the fear, the freedom hidden within the vulnerability. You begin to realize that the struggle was never about defeating you. It was about preparing you to step into the fullness of who you are, preparing you to let go of what no longer serves you, preparing you to rise. And rise you will. Not because you have all the answers, not because the path is easy, but because there is something within you that refuses to give up. There is a fire in your soul that cannot be extinguished, a light in your heart that cannot be dimmed, a truth in your being that cannot be denied. This truth is your anchor. It is your foundation. It is the voice that whispers to you in the darkest moments, you are enough, you are worthy, you are loved. And when you listen to that voice, when you let it guide you, sustain you, lift you, You begin to see the struggle for what it truly is, not an obstacle, but an invitation to grow, to heal, to transform, an invitation to step into the fullness of your power, the depth of your wisdom, the beauty of your humanity. So the next time you find yourself in the midst of struggle, remember this: you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not defeated. You are simply in the process of becoming. And that is a journey worth taking. There are moments when the struggle feels like it will never end, as though you are caught in an endless loop of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. You wake up and carry the same weight you carried yesterday and the day before and the day before that. It clings to you like a shadow, silent but relentless. And yet, even in these moments, there is something remarkable happening, because to struggle is to resist, and to resist is to refuse to surrender. Every breath you take, every small step forward is a testament to your strength, even when you cannot see it. The truth is, struggle often blinds us to the progress we are making. We focus so much on the pain of the present moment that we forget to look back and see how far we've come. But if you take a moment to pause, to reflect, to honor the journey you've already traveled, you might realize that you are not the same person you were when this struggle began. Because struggle transforms us, even when we don't realize it. It shapes us, stretches us, breaks us open in ways we never expected. It forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we would rather avoid, the truths we would rather deny. But in doing so, it also gives us the opportunity to grow in ways we never imagined. It teaches us to be patient with ourselves, to be compassionate with our pain, to find strength in our vulnerability. And yet, we are often so hard on ourselves. We carry the weight of unrealistic expectations, telling ourselves that we should be stronger, braver, more capable. We look at others and wonder why their lives seem easier, why they seem to have it all figured out, why their struggles seem so much smaller than our own. But let me tell you something. No one's struggle is small when they are the one living it. Pain is not a competition. There is no hierarchy of suffering. Your struggle is valid no matter how it compares to someone else's. What if we stopped judging ourselves for our struggles and started honoring them instead? What if we saw them not as weaknesses, but as evidence of our resilience? Because the truth is, every struggle you face is a sign that you are still fighting, still growing, still striving to become the person you are meant to be. And that is something to be proud of. What? But pride is not easy to hold on to in the midst of struggle. Doubt creeps in, whispering that you are not enough, that you will never overcome this, that the pain will never go away. These doubts are like weeds, choking the life out of the garden you are trying to grow. But here's the thing about weeds. They can only thrive if you let them. You have the power to pull them out, to uproot the doubts that threaten to take over your mind, to create space for hope, for growth, for possibility. Hope is a fragile thing in the midst of struggle, but it is also the most powerful. It is the spark that keeps you going when the darkness feels overwhelming. It is the whisper that says, this is not the end. There is more for you beyond this moment. And sometimes, hope is not something you feel, it is something you choose. It is a decision to believe in the possibility of something better, even when you cannot see it. And when you choose hope, something begins to shift. The struggle does not disappear, but it becomes more bearable. You begin to see that the pain you are feeling is not permanent, that the challenges you are facing are not insurmountable, that the darkness you are walking through will not last forever. You begin to see that even in the midst of struggle, there is beauty to be found. A kind word from a stranger, a moment of laughter with a friend, a quiet sunrise that reminds you the world is still turning. These moments of beauty are not accidental. They are lifelines. They are reminders that even in your darkest moments, you are not alone. Because struggle has a way of isolating us, making us feel as though we are the only ones carrying this weight. But the truth is, struggle is a universal experience. Everyone you meet is carrying something, fighting a battle you cannot see. And when you remember this, it becomes a little easier to reach out, to connect, to let others in. Connection is one of the most powerful antidotes to struggle. When you share your pain with someone else, it loses some of its power. When you allow yourself to be seen in your vulnerability, you create space for healing. And when you offer your compassion to someone else, you often find that you are healing yourself in the process. But connection requires courage. It requires you to let down your walls, to take off your mask, to trust that others will hold your pain with care. And that is not easy, especially if you have been hurt before. But it is worth it, because when you let others see you, truly see you, you also begin to see yourself more clearly. And what you see may surprise you. You may see strength where you thought there was only weakness. You may see beauty where you thought there was only brokenness. You may see resilience where you thought there was only fear. And in seeing yourself clearly, you begin to understand that you are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by the way you rise above them, the way you keep going, the way you continue to love and hope and dream, even in the face of pain. Dreaming is an act of defiance in the midst of struggle. It is a declaration that you will not be defeated, that you will not let your pain define you, that you will continue to reach for something more. Dreams are not just for the privileged or the lucky. They are for everyone who dares to believe in the possibility of something greater. And the beauty of dreams is that they do not have to be grand or elaborate. Sometimes a dream is as simple as the hope for a better tomorrow, the desire to feel joy again, the determination to keep going even when the road feels hard. These small dreams are just as powerful as the big ones, because they remind you that you are still alive, still moving forward, still fighting for the life you deserve. Optimist Momentary. Today, and you do deserve it. You deserve joy, love, peace, and all the good things this life has to offer. Your struggles do not make you less worthy of these things. They make you more worthy, because the very fact that you continue to fight, to hope, to dream is proof of your strength, your resilience, your courage. So keep going, keep fighting, keep dreaming, because the struggle is not the end of your story. It is just the beginning of a new chapter. And that chapter is waiting for you, ready to be written, filled with all the beauty and possibility you can imagine. Struggle carves into us like a sculptor, chiseling away what no longer belongs, revealing the essence of who we are beneath the layers we thought we needed to survive. It feels harsh, unkind, merciless at times, but what if the struggle is not the sculptor, but the tool? And what if the hands holding it are yours? We often forget that we are both the creators and the creations of our lives. We forget that within us lies the power to shape our experiences, to shift our perspectives, to find meaning even in the midst of chaos. It is not about denying the pain or pretending the struggle doesn't exist. It is about allowing it to teach you, to transform you, to prepare you for what lies ahead. And what lies ahead is always worth fighting for. Because even when the road feels endless, there is always something waiting for you around the bend, a new opportunity, a new understanding, a new version of yourself that you have yet to meet. The struggle you feel today is not a dead end. It is a bridge. And though the crossing may be hard, though the weight you carried may feel unbearable, every step you take brings you closer to the other side. But you must give yourself permission to take that step. You must give yourself permission to let go of the things that no longer serve you, the self-doubt, the fear, the need for perfection. You must give yourself permission to rest when you are weary, to ask for help when you need it, to be vulnerable when your heart feels heavy. These are not signs of weakness. They are acts of courage. And courage is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes courage is simply getting out of bed when every part of you wants to stay hidden beneath the covers. Sometimes courage is showing up for yourself when the world feels like it's falling apart. Sometimes courage is believing in your own worth when everything around you tries to convince you otherwise. That belief, that unshakable, undeniable belief in your own worth, is what will carry you through. It is the foundation upon which you can rebuild, the light that will guide you out of the darkness, the truth that will remind you of who you are. And who you are is extraordinary. You are more than your struggles, more than your pain, more than the battles you have fought. You are a story still unfolding, a masterpiece still in progress, a soul still discovering its infinite capacity for love, for joy, for growth. Struggle is not your final destination. It is the bridge you cross to reach the person you are becoming. It molds you, shapes you, and reveals parts of yourself you never knew existed. In the pain, there is purpose. In the doubt, there is wisdom. And in the darkness, there is light waiting to be found. The journey is not easy, but it is yours, uniquely and beautifully yours. Remember that every step, no matter how small, is progress. Every tear shed waters the seeds of strength growing within you. You are not defined by what you have endured, but by how you rise, how you love, and how you keep moving forward. Embrace your struggle, for it is a sign that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are becoming, and above all, remember, you are worthy, you are enough, and you are unstoppable.